Welcome to this Roll for Crit Kickstarter Pickstarter. Let's see what nifty things we find for the week of September 17th, 2018. Project Artemis is the first Kickstarter Pickstarter for this week. It is a sort of dice building engine game, one that I feel like we've been seeing more of, these building engines trying to build with dice, which I'm fine with because I enjoy the engine building as well as the rolling of the dice adds some randomness. Just like all the rest, you're sort of building your engine up, trying to get more resources. But the cool thing that I feel like this stands out is, one, the theme. You're building on Europa, trying to build these new bases, always like that sort of sci-fi idea. But also the way it works is it's not simple like only 4s can go here or even numbers. You can put any number there and higher numbers on your dice will give you more resources. But they have something called the exposure system, which means you actually go in the order of lowest to highest. So the 1 will go first, and if anyone put any 2s there. And if all the resources for that round are gone by the time it hits your die, you're going to get exposed and you don't get anything. It moves you on this other separate track, which means you're sort of gambling then with your higher number dice to be like, I want more of those resources, but if a lot of people are going to put there, then I'm not going to be able to get any. So it's I like that. It makes a lot more strategic importance of simply not just placing where you want and what fits, but also what do other people want? So you have to, it's not just building your own engine, you do actually need to pay a lot more attention to what other people are doing. This game will sell you back $55, so that's sort of, you know, high end of the middle price game area, I'd say.
I think if you get a bunch of dice, that's usually what that cost is, right?
Yeah, it's not too extreme. But you will get all the Kickstarter exclusives, which does include, at this current of recording, 5th player, so that's always a great addition to have.
Yeah, love that number 5.
Yeah, like I said, I do enjoy those dice engine building games. I'm always a sucker for them.
No, it's cool. They're usually done well, and I think it's always neat to see that dice are versatile and like different game systems, you can use them in cool different ways, even if it's just the same 6-sided die.
Theme is really cool too, and it's not just simply placing dice and getting the cards. You not only will buy things, you can get colonials and colonists, and you can either send them on expeditions or put them in buildings and stuff. So it does have that not simple just roll a die, place, roll a die, place, which adds a little bit more. But obviously, like I said, the exposure system is the coolest thing, since that adds, I think, the perfect amount for me of like player interaction, kind of, instead of just, it's not just, most of the games I can think of when it comes to dice, those dice, it's just hate drafting is your interaction. It's, I don't want you to get that 5.
Right.
When this is, all right, I see you, obviously you really want that resource, so you're probably going to go there. So I probably shouldn't put my 6 there because you might get that before me or something. So if you're willing to dig into the cold trenches of Europa, this may be the game for you.
The Waylanders is our next game from Eclipse Editorial. It's actually simultaneously being developed as a video game, but this is a separate project from that. It's a fantasy game sort of based on like ancient Celtic lore and legend. Celtic, I think it depends on what you're talking about. At any rate, the game is a tactical battle game for 2 to 4 players, and each person is going to have 5 of their own individual adventures that make up their party. And the map is modular hexes, so every time you play it can have a totally different layout with different terrain types, and you're going around the board either fighting each other with combat, and each of your adventures is unique, has their own stats, rolls different dice depending on how you play them. There's also objectives on the board you can try to complete, and strongholds you can discover and try to control those strongholds. So there are a few different ways that you can play. You can kind of go for those strongholds, for example, or you could just go all in and attack everybody else. It seems like an interesting, cool looking game. Of course, it has a bunch of miniatures for all your guys. Definitely that replayability is cool with the map, and the fact that like I said, that it's going to be a video game as well, also launching on Kickstarter later, is kind of interesting. The video game is more like an RPG style.
So it's not just a digital remake of this board game?
No, it's the same property, but a completely different game.
So are they in canon with each other?
I assume. I don't know what all the lore is, but I know that the game is being developed by a guy who worked on like Dragon Age and some BioWare stuff. But
so
this
that's
is an
where
RPG.
all of BioWare's RPG stuff went to.
Yeah, they went off to do the Waylanders. So I don't know. It seems cool. It goes for $69. So it's another one of those heavy miniatures. But if it's a fun system, and it sounds like it isn't too bad, then I like that the modular board, and the fact that all these characters are unique is kind of neat. So that's the Waylanders.
From Kembe Games, we have Paparazzo. In this game, you're trying to get the most points, shocker, by getting the best photos at the zoo. You'll be a tour guide leaving a group of tourists, and you'll be getting some more depending on what's going on, and trying to position them in order to get the best photos, especially during feeding time, when the animals are going to really show up. However, a gorilla named Kembe, coincidentally the company name, has escaped. However, instead of going on a rampage trying to destroy property, it's trying to destroy your selfies. So this game is basically sort of a set collecting game and drafting game where you're going to be drafting cards that do different actions of moving your own pieces, moving Kembe, or taking photos or special actions. But what's interesting with the drafting mechanic is you'll actually be choosing the last card that instead of giving it to a player, you'll be removing it from the game. And each round you'll be adding new cards to the pool that has already been chosen. So when you choose cards, you're not only choosing for that round, but what cards you may or may not want to be in the game in future rounds, which is interesting. As well as collecting the sets, each round there'll be certain cards feeding, as well as which sets you'll be wanting to collect. So obviously you'll want to try to position yourself to get the best pictures for the feeding time, as well as maybe get those sets before anyone else. This is not going for too much. I believe it was $43. It's one of those ones where conversion counts. It looked very silly, but Jonathan, my question is, which one do you think is more realistic? Kembe going on a rampage to destroy selfies, or George going on a rampage to Chicago?
They both have their possibilities in the real world, I think. It depends on whether or not Dwayne Johnson is around, what he's doing that weekend.
Of course.
I mean, I feel like it's a no-brainer. They would triple their funding if they make a stretch goal to have a Harambe expansion.
Ooh, I think we should avoid the radar ones. I don't think they want to get you to get points for taking photos of gorillas attacking other players.
Okay. All right, it's too soon for, or actually it's too late. It's way too late for Harambe jokes. But it sounds cool. We love drafting, of course. Drafting games are fun.
Yeah, I think it's always a great mechanic, and it's one of those ones you should introduce people because I think some of the best games use that really well, and it really teaches you to sort of try to learn without too much information what other people may be drafting. And of course, because of the way the placement works of this, it's not simply just draft. There's also trying to think a few turns ahead of like, this card's great for me in a future round, or it's good for you, depending on what sets you have. So you have to try to think a few steps ahead there.
Yeah. Plus Kembe.
How could you say no to that gorilla's face?
Karamojo, the most dangerous game, is our last pick for this week. Karamojo, named after a famous old hunter, and the most dangerous game coming from the title of that short story. This is a game where you are, in fact, a hunter. It is a solo game. It has some multiplayer aspects to it, but it's designed first and foremost as a solo experience. It's basically sort of a card game with RPG elements and kind of some miniatures game elements as well, where cards represent animals. They're going to move around the field and behave in different ways depending on how you're approaching them. And you're a hunter, and your goal is simply to try and take them on, destroy them, kill them, get money for it, and progress in your goal as a hunter. And eventually you can retire. There's even like a system where you will grow old and it might be harder for you to hunt. This is, it's meant to be like a lengthy campaign that you can play through solitaire mode. It uses all public domain artwork from like old paintings of animals, like a lot of them for when they first discovered some animals.
I thought that was the thing that caught my eye with this was the art. It's definitely, I love that old school art.
Yeah, it gives it a very interesting vibe, kind of like an old school, like this 30s, 40s, like around the world in 80 days, like you're sitting around a British room and talking about your kills and your trophies. It's, it's the theme maybe slightly problematic for today's times of killing lions and things like that.
As long as you're not a dentist.
Yeah, right. Then it's fine. And there were some weird things about this Kickstarter. They're going to come out with a gameplay video supposedly for it, but it's just like this one guy who created this game and is not a professional game developer. And I just thought it sounded like a pretty interesting, neat concept, and I'm curious about it. I definitely want to follow it and see how it develops.
Yeah, maybe something to like and see when that video goes up, so you can really see how the game plays at first. But like, he doesn't even have a regular video.
Yeah. There's not a lot of information yet, but I'm giving it a chance. It goes for $43, although there's some early bird stuff you might be able to get in on.
Remember, blame him.
Yeah, sure. Kickstarter picks. Those are all the ones that we thought looked pretty cool this week. Maybe there were some more, though, that we missed. You should let us know in the comments below what you think, or if you have any comments about the ones we talked about today, definitely leave those. While you're down there, you might as well go ahead, like and subscribe, and follow us on all our other links in the description as well. That'd be just swell if you did that. And otherwise, my name's Jonathan.
And I'm Will.
And this was our Kickstarter Pickstarter.
That was solid.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome board game content from Roll for Crit.
And please leave a comment. We're lonely.